Hello again, and welcome to another WNEP Sports Spotlight. It is week 7 of the high school football season, and it is rolling along faster than ever. Welcome back once again. I'm Sports Director Steve Lloyd, along with Eve Hernandez, Courtney Harrison. She is out on assignment, and we'll have her story coming up on future episodes of the Sports Spotlight and our show on WNEP. So what a great week 6 it was. We're going to get to some of those games from last week, but we're going to start in District 2, and it's the WNEP Game of the Week, Eve. It's Wilkes-Barre area at number 15, Pittston area, and that should be an outstanding one.
It's going to be a good one. Jake Howe had a great game for Pittston area last week. Wilkes-Barre area coming off of, they won last week, did they not? Yeah, they had a win last week, so that was good for them, getting another win for them. But Lucas Lepresto for Pittston area, also had a great game last week. 4 touchdowns on the day for him. They ran the ball really well in that game. The game of the week is going to be a good one.
Yeah, Jake Howe, like you said, he's the quarterback. He's got 1,200 yards passing this season. He has 11 touchdowns already. And for Coach Cyril Cinti, it's nice to have a great signal caller back there. Jordan Kozlowski, he's been his main target, 16 catches for 193 yards and 3 scores. And then you got Devon Underwood at the running back spot for the Wolfpack. And like you said, they beat Hazelton last week, 35-21. So what's going to kind of be the key for Coach Cinti going into that game and obviously going on the road?
Yeah, controlling the run game for sure, trying to control the clock against a team that's able to make really good explosive plays downfield. Pittston area, like we said, Lepresto had 3 touchdowns last week on offense, and then he had 1 in the return game as well. They are really, they got a lot of explosive playmakers on that team. It's going to be important for Wilkes-Barre area to try to, control the clock with their run game, like I said, and then get off the field on defense as much as they can and get the ball back to their offense.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Coach Paul Russick coming down from Honesdale and taking over at the Patriots. Their only loss to North Pocono, that game was at home, and obviously Coach Dolan and the Trojans undefeated. Right. So for Pittston area, it is Brody Spindler, 60 carries for 400 yards and 6 scores. He's been a beast, along with Caden Bailey, another 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. And then, like you said, Lucas Lepresto, he's been a main target, receiving 4 touchdowns already from quarterback Paulie Ferrantino and first-year head coach Paul Russick. So it should be an outstanding atmosphere. They're coming off a 47-14 win over Crestwood. What's going to be the key for Pittston area, do you think?
Pittston area, just keep doing what they're doing on offense. Keep, controlling the game with their offense, making those explosive plays like they've been able to all season long. Just continue to, make it fast and, get off the field on defense also.
Yeah, I was up in the back mountain last week. Alvernia was taking on Misericordia, and some of the high school officials were running the chains, and they were really looking forward to the game Friday night at Pittston area between Pittston area and Wilkes-Barre. So that should be a dandy one. That is our WNEP Game of the Week. Now we move to Hanover area. They're going to go on the road and face number 9 Wyoming area. The Warriors coming off a loss last week down at Berwick. At Hanover coming off a win, 42-0 over Tunkhannock, led by running back Dwayne Downey and his 77 carries for 520 yards, and quarterback Logan Richardson. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, but he does have 8 interceptions. So the Hawkeyes, they got to go on the road, and they got to control the ball and really play some good defense against a really good Wyoming area team.
Yeah, Wyoming area is a really good team. They offensively struggled last week versus Berwick. A really tough Berwick team on defense and on offense too. But for Hanover area, trying to control, trying to contain Wyoming area's offense. They had, they got a lot of playmakers on that team also. Trying to get off the field on defense is going to be big for them in this game, but also try to control, get as many points as they can. This Hanover area team is a team that can also score a lot of points. They've gotten a lot of shootouts so far this season. Trying to get enough points to overcome Wyoming area is going to be a big thing for them. Yeah, for Coach Spencer coming off a loss, so I'm sure he's going to have the attention of not only his team, but his coaching staff, and maybe correct some things that Berwick was able to do against them this week. There was 35-13 down there at Crispin Field where they lost, and Coach Spencer's got his quarterback and Jack Gravine. He leads the way, 717 yards passing already for him, 9 touchdowns for Gravine, and he's got Luke Kopechny, 16 catches, 373. So Luke is one of the guys in 6 touchdowns, and then you got Chiampi and Johnson are the running backs with the legs for Gravine. Obviously, he's got some big yards there. So you want to spread the ball around and get back to winning ways, and you got a game at home. So hopefully a big atmosphere, and they can get it going. Definitely. Gravine's someone that can, is a very good point guard for the team, distributing the ball to his playmakers. You just mentioned a lot of the playmakers that they have. He's someone that also can use his legs as much as he can with their arm. This team is someone that can score as much, through the passing game as they can on the run game, and Gravine is also a big part of that when he uses his legs. It's just a matter of which which way are they going to beat you. And if Hanover area can contain one side of the ball more than the other, then that could probably help them to shut up a part of their offense.
And then the next game is Lackawanna Trail. They're coming off a school threat incident last week where they had to move the game to Sunday for precautionary reasons for safety up there at the school. They are number 12 in the Super 16. They're going to go on the road. They're going to face Carbondale, and the Lions played on Sunday, beating Old Forge 38-20. Isaac Ryan, we've been talking about him for weeks and weeks and weeks. Here's some stats on Isaac. He's closing in on 1,000 yards rushing. He's got 15 touchdowns already, 9 catches for 205, and he plays alongside quarterback Tyler Jervis. So when you talk about Lackawanna Trail, you talk about Isaac Ryan.
Yeah, Isaac Ryan had a great game last week. I'm pretty sure he only played the first half, and he still had an incredible game on the ground. But talking about, Trail last week, first of all, they played the game on Sunday afternoon after their homecoming dance on Saturday night. So, kudos to all those guys, staying focused, throughout the week. Having their routine kind of mess up after having to postpone the game from Friday to Sunday definitely messes some things up, something that you're not used to. So definitely kudos to all the guys with all the distractions going on with the homecoming and the incident at school and whatnot for being able to, play well versus Old Forge on Sunday afternoon. But it was a great game for Lackawanna Trail. Like I said, it kind of can be hard when you have all the distractions going on, but their playmakers were still able to make all the plays that they usually do make. Steve Jervis had a great game. Yeah. Isaac Ryan, you just mentioned, ran all over the field for like half of the game, and then Lackawanna Trail was kind of able to close it out at the end, but that was a good win for Trail, definitely. And
you have to talk about Carbondale a little bit. They got running back Caden Voglino, 3 rushing touchdowns in the 40-0 win over Montrose. They would like nothing better than to get a win at home over a Lackawanna Trail team in our Super 16.
No, definitely they would. It's going to be a difficult one for sure. Montrose has not won that many games this season, but it's going to be difficult trying to, stuff this Trail team. We're going to have to play stout in the trenches, offensive line, the defensive line, to really try to control the game. That's kind of what Trail likes to do, though. They'll push your guys forward, and then on the other side, they'll stop the run. It's going to be really difficult for for Montrose to try to get a win.
Yeah, so Eve, Friday night, it's the Lions and the Chargers from Carbondale. The next one, number 5, North Pocono at Valley View. The Trojans coming off a win at home over Dallas in front of a very large crowd, 35-14. Cole West, wow, what a game for him. 146 yards receiving in the win, and the team's now 6-0 to start the season, and they are playing some outstanding football. Cole West, the kid can do it from the Wildcat, wide out. He's been making plays on defense. Obviously, an MVP candidate for the Trojans.
He's had an incredible season for the Trojans so far. I think 159 receiving yards last week. He had, and he's been doing it all season long for the Trojans. So every time that we talk about them, he's one of the first players that we mention for a reason. One of the best receivers so far, probably in the Lackawanna League, honestly, this season. But he's been doing it all for them, and the Trojans kind of keep continuing to roll on. They've been, finding their footing as the season has gone on. A couple of games are kind of more of a slow start, kind of come close wins, but after that Abington Heights win, I think that kind of did a lot for their confidence and boosting them up this season.
Yeah, Eve, they go on the road, they win at the Pit on a Saturday, come back home, play a Dallas team that's physical, but maybe down a little bit, and now they face another team kind of in a rebuild mode with Valley View. They are 3-3, and using Caleb Brown at quarterback. Valley View coming off the 28-0 win over Scranton. What's the key for the Cougars and Coach Wasilchak up there in Peckville on Friday night?
Yeah, the Cougars just kind of keep continuing to just kind of keep playing together. They're 3-3 on the season. We talked about the Cougars a lot so far. Rebuilding definitely after losing a lot of their senior talent they had last year, but they started to be able to, they got some wins on the season against some good teams too. They're trying to, come together more, but now that we're kind of, this is going to be in week 7 now, I think they've got, the time playing together, the continuity now to know what they have to do, be comfortable in what they're doing on offense, be comfortable in what they're doing on defense, and just kind of take out the noise of how good the Trojans are and just kind of just play their own game and just get a win any way they can.
So that's 4 games that we highlighted in District 2. Here's some other notes from District 2. Brady McDermott, 392 yards passing for Holy Redeemer, 5 TDs for him, and then Damian Eastman, 44 yards passing for Wyoming Valley West. He had 4 touchdowns. Braden Rose from Riverside, we've talked about him a lot, 4 TD passes. Holy Cross, their offense, they racked up 487 yards on the ground. Kevin Vincent alone, 344, 5 rushing touchdowns for the Crusaders. Gabe Duda from Honesdale, 223 on the ground. Mike Izzolino, DV, 97-yard kick return for a touchdown in the big win over Abington Heights without quarterback Nick Bradley. So you look at Holy Cross, you look at McDermott having a great season for Redeemer. That was a shootout.
What a great game. I mean, 400 yards, 480 yards just rushing in one game is really crazy. Stadium. That was a high-scoring game. Definitely an exciting game for two teams that have struggled a lot. Definitely on offense, too, for the last couple of years. But if you're fans of those two teams, definitely exciting to go to that game and see, the high score off that it turned out to be.
So that's a wrap from District 2. Let's roll out to District 4, and Eve is going to roll off some of the big games coming up out there.
Yeah, one of the biggest games, we're going to talk about number 4 Jersey Shore. They come up to number 4 in the countdown this week. They host Hollidaysburg, a 6-0 Hollidaysburg team.
And that's going to be a big one.
That's going to be a big one. Jersey Shore had a win over Williamsport last week, 67-40. That was a big game on offense. I will say they were very disappointed on the defensive side of the ball, giving up 40 points. Yeah. Talking to Bo Seacrest after the game, he said that was unacceptable. That's something that they did not want to see again. That was the most points they gave up on defense all season. But on the flip side, the most points they've scored on offense all season also. Hollidaysburg is a 5A team. They've got about 20 more kids on the roster than Jersey Shore does. So just from that aspect, Jersey Shore's guys had to play on both sides of the ball more than Hollidaysburg is going to have to. So it's going to be a difficult matchup just in terms of the size of the teams in that way. But Hollidaysburg also very big on their offensive line. The first thing you notice when you look at their tape, I watched their game versus Mifflinburg. They played Mifflinburg a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, beat them.
They beat them too. That's what Mifflinburg's only loss, but they have some really big guys on that offensive line. Yeah. Really, really big.
It's going to be a test.
It's going to be a really big test for Jersey Shore, definitely. Nolan Pauling had a good game last week. Their run game was kind of, took a while for them to get started, but something they talked about was getting some of the younger guys kind of up to speed now. And now that they're, we're halfway in the season, like I said, they're starting to have that come along.
Yeah, and I think Pauling rushed for 169. Like you said, you were at that game. Seacrest, right. 4 touchdowns and another 160 yards on the ground. So that's gonna be a tough test.
Really big.
There at Thompson Street Stadium for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, but that'll be if they can win that one, they're going to be looking good for the rest of the season. I'll think that's definitely their toughest test.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our number 1 team, Shamokin, a little bit. They're playing Williamsport next week. We haven't talked about Shamokin in a couple weeks, I don't think. They're coming off a big win over Selinsgrove, 57-12 over the Seals. A good win for them. They had 8 total touchdowns in that game and a field goal for Shamokin on offense. So that was a big win for them. And then on defense, really impressive performance. They held Selinsgrove to just 8 yards of offense in the first half. What are you going to do against that Shamokin defense? Just playing shutdown ball in most of their games this season. But talking about, them playing Williamsport, Tevin Williams, the quarterback for Williamsport, had one of the best games of his career last week versus Jersey Shore.
Outstanding game. 344
yards passing was the career high for him.
Wow.
Yeah, so he played amazing. He played an amazing game. He also had 68 yards rushing and then a rushing touchdown as well, which we'll see that play a little bit later on in the show. But he had played a great game. Williamsport did their best to keep up with Jersey Shore on offense. Going into halftime, it was a 28-14 game, so they were only 2 touchdowns down. Jersey Shore definitely took advantage in the second half on their offense, but Williamsport did what they could to stick in it. They were making plays until the very end. Even Jersey Shore was, playing some of their JV guys, Williamsport was still all the effort, maximum effort, trying to score as much points as possible to come back in that one, and they did. So they had a great one.
That's certainly a tough way to win a football game. You got to get some stops here and there, but both offenses electric in that one.
Definitely. So that'll be an interesting one. We'll see how Shamokin does down at Williamsport on Friday night. We're also going to look at the game that I'm going to be at Friday night, number 13 Southern Columbia at number 11 Mifflinburg.
That's going to be a great one.
2 5-1 teams, and these are 2 teams that I think are trying to. I think this game is a prove-it game for these 2 teams in District 4.
Absolutely.
District 4, a lot of good teams. We just talked about Shamokin. We just talked about Jersey Shore. Yep. But these are 2 teams that are up there, too, also at the same time. Southern Columbia coming off of a 41-21 win over Danville. Mifflinburg with a big 49-7 win over Milton. But at this point, these are going to be the best tests for these 2 teams at this point of the season. Southern Columbia collected 400 yards of offense against Danville last week, and the defense had 2 interceptions, keeping them in that one. Mifflinburg put up 466 yards of offense over Milton last week. Milton not having the best season, but it was a impressive performance for Mifflinburg. I think one of the differences in this game is going to be probably at the quarterback position. Chad Martin for Mifflinburg has one of the greatest arms in Pennsylvania right now. He's got 1,119 yards on the season, 25th in all of Pennsylvania right now.
Yeah, we'll see how he attacks that Tigers defense.
Exactly. Aiden Hockenbrock on the other side, kind of settling into the position, but when it comes to the offenses, when you look at the yardages, a lot of kind of evenly so far throughout the season, but at the quarterback position, I think is going to be a big difference.
And while you're out there, I suggest definitely go to the food stand. There's an outstanding booster club out there, and great food to get if you have a chance to get some meal.
Don't think I've checked that one out yet, so I'll definitely have to. Always love going to the different stadiums around here and getting what the certain kinds of foods that they like to send at the show.
Yeah, and some other players, obviously Landon Murray from Mifflinburg, and then you got Braden Andrews and Grady Garcia. So you talked about the quarterbacks, but a lot of athletes on the field, and it might come down to the trenches in that one. But that should be a great football game.
Definitely, and whoever team on defense can probably make some more turnovers and get the ball back to their offense, I think is also going to be a big factor in that game. Then we'll also look at Warrior Run at Loyalsock, other two teams in District 4 that are probably trying to prove themselves also.
Yeah.
These are also Warrior Run's 5-1, Loyalsock 4-2 on the season. Loyalsock coming off of a kind of a strange 14-7 win over Lewisburg. You would expect them to put up more points, I think, than that after coming off that big win over Bloomsburg the week before that. But for Danny Dowell and for the Lancers, Jaleel Colts, also a big part of that offense. I think for this game, these two offenses are also kind of very similar to the run games in these ones. The running backs with the quarterbacks are kind of what these two teams like to do. So I think it's going to be interesting to see which team comes up with that big play to get over the other one.
Yeah, you have Kiefer at quarterback for Warrior Run, 800 yards, 8 touchdowns, and then Bechtel, the running back, 648 for 7 touchdowns. You talked about the two players from Loyalsock and Dow and Coates, the running back. They are loaded. There's some final notes from District 4. Some other players that had some outstanding stats. You want to run through those?
Let's see. Adam Scherer, 41-yard field goal for Montoursville.
That's
a big
That's pretty cool for a high school kid.
Yeah, 41-yard field goal. That's an incredible crick. So that was a good one for Adam Scherer there. Tevin Williams for Williamsport, like we said, he had a great game last week. One of the best games of his high school career. 6 total touchdowns on the day, 5 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing. A great win, or not a great win, but a great day on offense for the Millionaires. Jersey Shore had 489 yards of rushing last week as a team. Like we said, they scored 67 points over Williamsport last week, so that was a big one. 178 yards receiving also for Trey Damshorter for Williamsport. He had a good game too. 3 of those touchdowns that Williams threw were to him.
Yeah, talk about the two athletes there that Mike Pearson has in the quarterback and the receiver. How electric were they, and what kind of futures do those kids have?
They're very electric. Listening to Pearson talk about the kind of player that Williams is, Williams wants to win more than anyone on that team probably. He puts in full maximum effort every time. I remember seeing him, there was one play that he had where he kind of just threw it downfield. It ended up being a 91-yard touchdown pass, but the effort that he put on that play to say, I'm going to go out and score a touchdown on this play, that was a long third down too. The effort that he had to kind of float that one in there was amazing. And then Schroeder on the other end, coming down with 3 of those 5 touchdowns that Williams threw. Those were 2 big playmakers, and they scored a lot of points. They had a great game. I think they're starting to kind of find their rhythm on offense so far now.
All right, Eve, thanks for the report from District 4. And like you said, you'll be out there at the game, Southern Columbia at Mifflinburg. So everyone say hi to Eve when she's out there covering the game on Friday night. As we move into District 11, we start with Bangor down at North Schuylkill. Spartans looking to get back in the winning column. Luke Miller, 269 yards rushing last week in the loss to Northwestern Lehigh. And if you look at North Schuylkill and the Spartans schedule, it's one to be reckoned with. They're playing a lot of teams from down there in the Colonial League, state powers. They've won a few, they've lost a few. They came off that great win in week 1 over Mount Carmel, and Miller's having a great season. Bangor doesn't have any wins, so hopefully this can propel North Schuylkill into hopefully getting a win and getting back on track and getting into playoff contention mode.
Yeah, some tough teams on the schedule for North Schuylkill this season. Some stumbles that they definitely would not have liked to have on the schedule, but trying to get a win over this Bangor team, I think is going to be a good stepping stone for them after a couple of losses here that they didn't want to take.
Yeah, and Eve, the next one is Marion Catholic at number 2 Schuylkill Haven. Marion Catholic, they were undefeated until Saturday night, and Dante Carr and the Miners came in and just blew the doors off of the Colts. So another tough one. They got to go on the road and face undefeated Haven team with Colton Reber. Oof. He's got over 1,000 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns already, and teammate Nico Castillo, another 345 and 8. Obviously, you got to stop the run, and Marion Catholic, I'm sure they're looking at a lot of film from last week and trying to plug some holes down there in hometown. Yeah,
it's going to be a difficult win for Marion Catholic trying to get against this Hurricanes team. You mentioned Castillo. He also had a couple of picks last week, too. He's been having a really good year on defense. He's been playing more on defense, I think, this year than on offense in the last couple of years. But even, with Reber and, that just that offensive line and those running backs at Haven, it's going to be a really tough win for Marion Catholic to try to get. They had trouble containing contain Dante Carr for sure last week. So I think they're probably going to have, some trouble in the run game again this week. But if they can get, some of their stuffs and, get their stunts ready, we'll see what they can do.
Then the next game, Eve, is Pine Grove at number 16, Minersville. The aforementioned Dante Carr. Let's give his stats. 979 through the air, 16 touchdowns. He's also run for close to another 800 yards and 9 more scores. And like I said, they beat Marion Catholic last week, 38-7. They're the only 4-2 team in the countdown with 2 losses. Every other team is either undefeated or 1 loss. And we haven't picked our MVP yet.
Right.
Last year it was Lewis Paris, the quarterback from Prep. Dante is there.
He's in contention.
He's got
sure.
my vote right now. We're gonna start picking the Super 16 Dream Teamers here pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
As soon as the coaches get their nominations in, but a kid who is just lighting the world on fire and trying to do everything he can against some really stiff competition. But what is it about Dante besides his height, his athleticism, and his strength?
Yeah, just besides the way that he moves and for his height and his weight, I remember talking to him earlier this season, too. I did a story on him earlier this summer, committing to UCF, and talking to him and talking to his head coach, Coach France, for a little bit. Just the humbleness that he has, the leadership that he has, the want and the love that he has for the game of football is incredible. He works harder than anyone probably on the team. Every team that they play against, Minersville, Dante Carr is the best athlete on the field because of how hard he works. He has just the incredible ability to feel for the pocket, of the ability for the game, to feel where the defenders are, to read the defense also, he's got the speed too. He's incredibly fast. He moves incredibly well. That's going to be, a tough win for the Miners to get on Friday, but I'm sure they can do it with Dante Carr on the field.
Yeah, they've obviously faced a couple tough opponents in Williams Valley and Schuylkill Haven, but you never know. Down the road, they could face them again in the playoffs. So that's a quick look around District 2 and 4. Some other notes from District 11. Peyton LaPointe, also from Minersville, receiving touchdowns from Miners, now a new school record in his career. He's got 21 of those. Cole Lazarick, we really haven't talked much about Cole. No. He's having an outstanding season down there in Jim Thorpe.
Yeah.
Another 252 yards passing for Cole. And then Terrence McDowell from Tamaqua. We've had him in the highlights last couple weeks. 191 yards rushing for Tamaqua. So that's District 11 report from there, and that's it for the Week 7 preview. So stay with us. When we come back, we'll go back and look at some of the outstanding games last week from Week 6 with Eve and myself when we come right back here on the Sports Spotlight.
The Wilkes-Barre-Scranton International Airport, AVP, is your gateway to everywhere. Start here with safe, convenient, terminal-connected parking, quick check-in, and short lines at TSA. Fly on American, United, or Breeze Airways and connect to destinations throughout the USA. You can go nonstop to Chicago, Washington, D.C., Philly, or Charlotte. It's that easy. When you return, there's quick baggage claim and parking nearby. You're on your way faster at AVP.
And welcome back to the WNEP Sports Spotlight. I am Sports Director Steve Lloyd. Eve Hernandez, we just went through the upcoming big games for Week 7. We're now going to look back at some of the outstanding matchups from Week 6, and there were some dandies. We're going to start with number 2, Schuylkill Haven. 42-29 win over number 3, Williams Valley.
Oof.
Down there in Viking territory.
Yeah.
And for Coach Farr going down there and getting a big win on the road, that was key. You had Chase Leibensberger, big interception for Haven early in that one. Fletch Thompson, big touchdown run for the Vikings with Castillo and Reber kind of doing the damage there for the Hurricanes. So kind of nice to go down to Williamstown in enemy territory and come out with a victory.
Yeah, what a win for the Schuylkill Haven Hurricanes. This was a difficult one to pick. I purposely did not pick this game last week in our game picks. I didn't know who was going to come out with the win. This was a rematch of the district championship last year. And I remember talking to Coach Tedeschi before the season. He said him and Coach Farr were kind of joking because last year the Hurricanes also won in the regular season. They were like, maybe this year we'll lose in the regular season and we'll beat you in the playoffs this time. That kind of did not happen this time. The Hurricanes won again in the regular season, but it was a good win for them for sure. For the Vikings, Evan Achenbach Steinbach got injured in the second half. He came out of that game. He's a big part of their offense, so I think them trying to come back from behind without one of their biggest playmakers and also a couple of turnovers on the day for Brady Schomper and the offense definitely kind of gave Haven a recipe for success in the second half to take control of the game and get the win like they did.
So Schuylkill Haven, they have a big Thursday night win that they had over Minersville and Dante Carr. Now they go on the road and beat Williams Valley, and now they have Marion Catholic coming in Friday night. So kind of the three-headed monster. If they can get through that unscathed, certainly it's bright horizons in the future for Haven. Here's some of their players after the win last week.
We practiced hard all week. We came into this game thinking that, honestly, it was going to be a hard game. We knew this. They're such a good football team, and we're definitely going to see them again later, though.
I mean, offensively, I think we're having a really easy time moving the ball, and that's always a great help. I mean, how do you lose games if you're moving the ball? Defense played really well tonight, especially second half. I mean, they scored, one touchdown in the second half, and that's just amazing from our defense. My O-line, I got to shout them out, too. I didn't get touched all night until the fourth quarter, which is kind of my fault. So I just got to give a shout out to everybody.
And the next game, we move up to District 2. It was number 6 North Pocono, picking up the 35-14 win over Dallas. Chase Zimmerman to Cole West, and then Max Lefebvre had 2 interceptions in that game, and they handed the ball to Joe Brisky. A lot going up the middle, tough running for the Trojans. On the turf at night under the lights, and they are 6-0.
Go the Trojans, 6-0. I loved how we heard, you kind of showed us that Coach Dolan's speech after the win over Abington Heights a couple weeks ago, and you really heard the emotion in his voice and how much he really wants it for this team, and they've performed so far this season. We talked about Cole West a little bit earlier already in the show, 159 receiving yards last week, and we showed some of the highlights too, like you said, line up in the Wildcat, out wide or wherever he lines up, he's always explosive for the Trojans, but what a great win that they got over Dallas, a dominant win too.
Yeah, I think as a coaching staff, he kind of has them prepared. They go from the aerial attack in a Saturday game against Nick Bradley, and then Dallas did come out and throw a lot early on, but then they kind of tried to run the ball. So your defensive schemes, you got to have players, multitasking, and
right.
I think North Pocono's been able to do that this season.
Yeah, Brisky had a great game. He had a great game. He had, they were up 35-0 in the fourth quarter before Dallas was able to get a couple of touchdowns in at the end there. But like you said, the running attack there was really working for them last week. Joe Brisky with 3 touchdowns on the ground from North Pocono. They're getting it done in different ways.
And then the next game, still in District 2, it was number 16 Pittston area. They win it 47-14 over Crestwood, and that propelled them up a little higher in the Super 16 this week. We keep talking about Lucas Lepresto, the running back, and the Patriots were all over Jaden Shedlock, the Comets quarterback. So not only did they get it going on offense, they've been playing some great defense. Oh, yeah, they've been playing great on defense. They were all over Shedlock. They did not really let him go anywhere or do much on offense at all last week. But it was a good win for Pittston area, 47-14. They moved to 5-1 on the season now with the win, and now number 16 in our countdown. We did not have them ranked, I think, before last week, so they moved back up into the countdown with that win last week. 346 yards of total offense for them, 283 of those coming from the ground game. We kind of talked about Pittston area earlier, like we said. They're also a team that can get it done in different ways, through the air or on the ground, just whatever is working for them in that day. Last week it was on the ground game. They'll get it done in multiple ways too. And then, Eve, we move to District 4. We go up to the northern tier. Wyalusing, they lose to number 8 Troy, 49-14. They opened up Alperin Park. They've been away for the first 5 weeks of the season, so I believe they have some new bleachers there. They unveiled the banner from winning the AA state title a season ago, and it's been quarterback Mason Smith and Brendan Gilliland and company. Nice win for the Trojans. They had a little hiccup on the road against Waverly, New York, losing there, going for 2, but Troy is right back in the driver's seat and playing some good football. Yeah, they had a really good win last week, scoring 49 points. You mentioned Gilliland had 2 touchdowns last week. It was cool to see them too, unveil, the banner under the scoreboard last week, their first home game, this season. So that was cool for them to see. But after that little stumble versus that Waverly team from New York, not sure how good Waverly is. They're a New York team. That was a 1-point loss for Troy. But ever since then, they've been rolling quite along like they have all season, scoring a lot of points and being really stout on defense too. And then the next game was number 7 Wyoming area. They went down to Crispin Field and they lose to number 9 Berwick, 35-13. Athletic director Bo Orlando bringing in C.J. Curry. He was the offensive coordinator previous to becoming the head coach out at Selinsgrove. So if you know anything about some of the Selinsgrove football teams, Coach Curry was getting it rolling out there, and he's got it rolling in Dogtown. Brady Cleaver is a freshman quarterback. He opened things up with a 50-yard touchdown, and then after that it was kind of Ty Wilkerson and company, and they played some great football. They're undefeated, and they are now 6-0.
Tymer Wilkerson ran the ball for 29 times last week. They will run the ball down your throat at Berwick. Tymer had a great game too. 208 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns in that game. Berwick, this was one that we talked about a lot last week. This is one of our big games that we were looking forward to. We didn't know which way this was going to go. And Berwick showed that they were, one of the top dogs in District 2, beating Wyoming area in this game. What a great win for them on the ground. Their defense really did what they needed to do and were able to stop Wyoming area's explosive offense. And on the ground, they completely controlled the game with their run game. They ran the ball pretty much every single play, with Tymer carrying it 28 times. That's a lot of times for one person to carry the ball in one game. What a great statement win for them.
Here's freshman quarterback Brady Cleaver.
I mean, when they're keen on him and we come off with a quarterback keeper, it keeps them on their toes. It keeps them, not looking always to Tymer. So I think that helps us a lot. They're going to the opposite side on the fake to Tymer. I mean, D1 running back, when you fake it to him, they're going to go with them. With the poolers on the offensive line, it's just wide open. I walked in the end zone.
All right, and we stay in District 2. The next game, number 10, Lakeland, 28-14 road win over the Dunmore Bucks. David Nanowitz, all 6'4" of him, a great game, and going to wide receiver Jackson Pocius. So Coach Porchek, he's got it going up there. Their only loss was to Wyoming area. So obviously a league game and coming down into Dunmore, never an easy place to get a win.
Never. And
they were able to get a 14-point win on the road.
Yeah, really the difference in this game was the couple of turnovers that Dunmore had in the second half, because it was tied going into halftime, and then only just the 2 touchdown win for Lakeland. We've seen, Lakeland, is in our countdown too. They've been ranked pretty much all season. This was a good win for them. Going into Dunmore, it's never an easy place to get a victory, like you just said. Dunmore held up with, really well on the defensive side of the ball, trying to limit Lakeland's offense as much as possible. But again, like I said, those turnovers at the end were really the difference in this one.
Yeah, and I know Coach Borchek talked about preseason staying healthy, staying the course, not having any kids go down. For them, it's kind of a numbers game. They have the athletes at great skill positions. They're there. If somebody goes down, it's a little tough with some of the backups. As we move into our final game from last week, it was number 5, Jersey Shore. Eve Hernandez was at that game. It was the 67-40 win over Williamsport. Nolan Pauling and Tevin Williams, they went head-to-head in that matchup. I didn't add it up, but that's a lot of points, and I believe that's well over 100 points on the scoreboard.
That was a lot of points in that game. The biggest takeaway I think I had for that game, we talked about it a little bit earlier too, but when I talked to Bo Seacrest after the game, he mentioned that giving 40 points on the defense was not acceptable for Jersey Shore. The coaches in that victory speech huddle after the game were not happy. Everyone was pretty angry. They were kind of mentioning that, people need to take practice a little bit more seriously coming into this week. Some of the younger guys that Seacrest was telling me are, getting in the game more now and starting to really pick things up now. Some of the tackling may not have been where they have wanted it to. Some guys may have not been in the right spot, but he did say that everyone's starting to, come along and pick up things and be where they need to now. And that's going to help definitely Jersey Shore along the rest of the season. But it was a good win for them. 67 points was the most points they scored on offense all season. Their offense, we know how potent it is. We just, for a matter of the defense, kind of just shoring up and holding opponents to little points as possible.
So here's Nolan and Bo with Eve Hernandez after the win.
I think we came out slow a little bit, but we really started to step it up, a little finger pointing. But we came together at half, and we know what we can do, and we definitely went out and did it.
Giving up 40 points is not acceptable, and that's not what we stand for, and that's not what we want to do. And we really need to get back. I know it was kind of in garbage time. It was kind of a lot of our JV guys were in, but I feel like our offensive center started great. It's our line's getting better and better. The younger kids are picking it up, and I think we'll be a great team come postseason.
All right, well, we stick with that game, the Jersey Shore Williamsport game, and each and every week we always have our WNEP Play of the Week. And it is a great one this week, and it is deserving. And it goes to Tevin Williams, the long, winding touchdown run for the Millionaires. Eve, you were there, and you saw that play. athleticism and a great run for Tevin to get the touchdown.
Yeah, we talked about Tevin a little bit earlier, and he wants it more than anyone on that Williamsport team does. He'll make plays in any way that he can. And this run, it was like over 80-yard run that he got. Just kind of got out of the pocket and then went like from one side of the field all the way back into the other, hit the sideline, and was able to kind of get his way into the end zone. He's pretty fast. He ran out. I don't know. I didn't have a gun to clock him, but he was running very fast. That was a great play by Williams, and definitely deserving never play of the week.
Yeah, you kind of know right away what's going to be the play of the week. We normally have a candidate, and he went right up top. Nobody really there to kind of knock him off. So congratulations to Tevin. Got to work on the defense a little bit out there, Coach Pearson, but congratulations to him on that outstanding run. So we got first two blocks out of the way. We looked at the games coming up for Week 7, and we look back at Week 6, and we have our game of the week and play of the week. When we come back, we will go back in time to Mr. Tim Ruddy out of Dunmore when the Bucks won the state title back in 1989, and our Super 16 sports finale with James Pennington. When we come right back here on the Sports Spotlight. And welcome back to the WNEP Sports Spotlight. I am Sports Director Steve Lloyd, along with Eve Hernandez. Courtney Harrison, she is out on assignment. Well, we're going to go back in time, way back to 1989 with Dunmore's Tim Ruddy. They won the Class A state title 57-18 over Keystone. Ruddy would go on to play for Notre Dame from 1990 to 94. Then in the NFL with the Dolphins from 94 to 2003. He was a Pro Bowl selection in 2000. Obviously a great player. Certainly a lot of history there with Coach Henses. And we have a story here. It's the academic side of Mr. Tim Ruddy with former WNEP sports director Timmy Carlson. Let's take a look at the story way back from 1989.
He's being recruited by all the big colleges. They want him to play football. Dunmore's Tim Ruddy is one of the best linemen ever to play around here. As great as Tim Ruddy is on the football field, his greatest high school achievements have come in the classroom, especially this year. Tim is an advanced honors student. That means he takes all the most challenging courses offered. That hasn't stopped him from being ranked first among the 99 seniors at Dunmore. His overall grade point average just hundredths of a point under 98. His College Board total score is in the exceptional category at 1470.
As I was growing up, my family, like I said before, they said just go out and try to be the best at everything you do. So it was kind of encouraged at a young age to work hard at academics, and it comes to me fairly easily. So I think that's pretty much the way I learned it.
Obviously, the academic and athletic accomplishments of Timmy bring much more attention to the school, and we are proud of this fact, but we are proud of the fact that Timmy can achieve in his athletic realm and bring recognition to his school in a positive manner.
You have to give his parents a lot of credit, and God has been very, very good to him academically. Things come to him very, very easily, but he does spend his time and he budgets his time very, very well. And in the athletic program, Tim knows exactly what he had to do, and he was probably one of the hardest workers we've ever had here at Dunmore High School.
Now you can understand why Tim Ruddy is such a hot college prospect. He's the dream student and football player, all wrapped up in one big package. But that can create a major problem, a ton of college recruiters trying to lure Tim to their school. It makes making a big decision tough.
As you said, it's a difficult decision whether to go for total academics or a combination of football and academics. So I'm still undecided. It's going to be a tough decision.
You realize you're a college recruiter's dream here. You have great grades, so you're going to make it in no problem with that, plus you're a great football player.
I like to think so.
In Timmy's case, whoever gets Tim Ruddy, he's going to be a credit to their institution.
Tim Ruddy's brilliant high school football career is over, but he still has time to add to his academic achievements, and in the future look back at his senior year and say he was the best both in the classroom and on the football field.
All right, well, thanks to Tim Ruddy back from doing that story, and for Timmy Carlson putting that together. Always great to kind of take a look at some of the history here in Northeast PA. We always finish up with the Super 16 sports finale.
Always love the finale.
Always love getting some of those shots out there each and every Friday night.
I was at Williamsport this past Friday, and we saw this was featured in the finale this past week. The band had like a really cool like arcade game set up. There was like a giant Rubik's Cube, and they did like some Super Mario, like cool. Like different like Super Mario noises and stuff. So that was really cool. As soon as I got there, I was like, this is going to the finale, and I was happy to see it in there.
Awesome. Well, here's the finale from Week 6, put together by James Pennington and all of our photographers who got a lot of this great video. Take a look. All right, thanks to James and all the photographers each and every week for the sports finale. Always a cool thing to see here on the Sports Spotlight. When we come back, we will go through the Super 16 countdown, see who's still in, see who's out, and one of the new teams that entered the picture. Next here on the Sports Spotlight. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the WNEP Sports Spotlight podcast. We are going to run down our Super 16 countdown for Week 7. We got some movement in the countdown this week. Top team stays the same. Shamokin coming in at 6-0. Number 2, Schuylkill Haven. Line Mountain moves up to number 3 this week. Jersey Shore at number 4. North Pocono, Berwick, and Troy round out the top 7. Williams Valley drops down to number 8 after their loss to Haven. Wyoming area 9, and then Lakeland. Mifflinburg at 11. Lackawanna Trail at 12. Southern Columbia, Riverside, Pittston area, and Minersville at 16. Minersville coming back into the countdown after the win last week. What are your thoughts on the movement in the countdown? How did you decide to put Minersville back in?
Well, I think right now, Eve, the kind of the nitty-gritty, some teams are starting to suffer losses. Mm-hmm. So you have to compare the losses that they have. So if you look, for instance, at Mifflinburg, they lost to a team from outside of the area in Hollidaysburg.
Right.
Then you look at Southern Columbia, go back way back to Week 1, where they lost to Wyomissing, a state power. Mm-hmm. So it kind of goes to strength of schedule and kind of who some of these teams play. Wyoming area, their first loss on the road to Berwick, so didn't want to drop them down too far.
Right.
They already defeated Lakeland, but Lakeland obviously has a loss, so they're right below Wyoming area. But up top, Shamokin is still strong. Yep. Line Mountain, Schuylkill Haven, North Pocono, Berwick, they're the only undefeated teams. And then Jersey Shore, they almost knocked off our number 1 team on the road.
Right.
And they've played a very, very difficult schedule
so far.
So as you go back down through Troy, certainly a state power up there over the border in Waverly, that's their only loss. And then Williams Valley just got their first loss. Trail has a loss to Wyoming area. And then Riverside obviously has a loss at home to Lakeland, and then Pittston lost to North Pocono. So quality in there from top to bottom, and we will see where it goes. There's going to be a lot of head-to-head matchup this week. Certainly your game,
that's
Southern
Columbia,
Columbia,
big one for this
taking
countdown.
on Mifflinburg. So we're going to see how that shakes out, and that should be an outstanding game. And right now the countdown, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it is what it is. You kind of see the math of how difficult it is when some of these teams lose to certain other teams that are above them in the countdown, or they don't have losses, or who they played and whatnot. So there you go, see a little bit of what goes into our heads when trying to put the countdown together. But like you mentioned, Southern Columbia and Mifflinburg going to be a big one this week in terms of our countdown.
Yeah, and then you look at Schuylkill Haven, even though they have one of their better players out, they've still been able to stay the course and get it done with some of the reserves and some of the other players kind of stepping up. So that's a look at the Super 16 countdown for Week 7. And when we come back, we will go through our picks, our records, some of the big games that we're picking from. When we come back, it's going to be Courtney's picks, my picks, and Eve's picks. Next on the Sports Spotlight. Stay with us. And welcome back to the WNEP Sports Spotlight. As we wrap up the show for Week 7, we're going to update you here on the picks. Well, here are the 9 games that we are picking from this week. We line up the 9, and then we pick 6 out of the 9. Why we do that, I don't know. I just like the math. So here's the 9 games. Wilkes-Barre at Pittston, Mid-Valley at Dunmore, North Pocono at Valley View, Southern Columbia at Mifflinburg. We've talked about that game at length. Warrior Run at Loyalsock. We've also mentioned that. Hollidaysburg at Jersey Shore. That is going to be a nail-biter. Lehighton down at Blue Mountain. We haven't talked about that too much. Wallenpaupack at Scranton. That should be a dandy of a game. And then we have a game out in the Poconos. We have East Stroudsburg South at Pocono Mountain East. So those are the 9 games. So here are my picks. I was 21-9. Coming into Week 5, I went 4-2 last week in Week 6, and I now sit at 25-11. Terrible numbers. Here are my picks. I like Wilkes-Barre over Pittston, North Pocono over Valley View, Southern Columbia over Mifflinburg, Loyalsock Township over Warrior Run. That's the game Eve is going to be at. Blue Mountain over Lehighton, and then I do like Pocono Mountain East, the Cardinal over East Stroudsburg South. So that's my picks. As we roll to Courtney's picks, Courtney was 22-8 last week. Coming into Week 5, a perfect
6-0 last week, Courtney. You're not even here to gloat.
Yes, 6-0 in Week 6 for Courtney, and Courtney now sits at 28-8.
She's catching up to me.
So here are Courtney's picks. She likes Pittston over Wilkes-Barre. She likes North Pocono over Valley View. Mifflinburg over Southern. So when you're out there, make sure you tell the Mifflinburg people that Courtney picked Mifflinburg. Jersey Shore over Hollidaysburg. Blue Mountain over Lehighton, and she likes Pocono Mountain East over East Stroudsburg South. So that's Courtney's picks.
Good picks, Courtney. For my last week, okay, so I was 25-5 coming into this week. I went 4-2 last week, which was my worst week so far this season. Now I'm 29-7 on the year. I'm ahead by 1 game, Courtney, and see if you're catching up to me now. But for this week, I'm going to go with Dunmore over Mid-Valley, North Pocono over Valley View, Southern Columbia over Mifflinburg is my pick. Not sure how I feel about it, but we're going to roll with it. Blue Mountain over Lehighton, Wallenpaupack over Scranton, and Pocono Mountain East over East Stroudsburg South. I think all 3 of us picked that same outcome.
Outstanding picks. I do like Dunmore's chances over Mid-Valley.
Yeah,
they
definitely.
have a pretty good aerial attack with Coach Janoski's son at quarterback. See if Valley View can kind of get it going up there in Peckville at John Hens's Veterans Memorial Stadium. Always a great place for a high school football game.
Always.
So before we wrap things up, we're going to go with final thoughts, and we're going to start with Eve and what you think about the upcoming Week 7.
Yeah, looking forward to Week 7 for sure. Last week was, a little bit of a strange week with, one of our games having to get postponed from Friday night to Sunday afternoon after an unfortunate incident. But everything was safe. Everyone, came out of that okay. A lot of homecomings are going on. We had some homecomings last week. We got some homecomings this week. So as we look forward to kind of getting to the back half of the season here, there's going to be some senior nights and stuff like that. Maybe like some playoff conversations starting up pretty soon. It's going to start to get interesting now.
So Friday night at 6, you're going to have a report, a pregame report at 6 o'clock from Southern Columbia at Mifflinburg. Courtney is going to be live down in Yatesville for Wilkes-Barre and Pittston.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to how they can contain Jake Howe and then what Lucas Lepresto can do in front of the home crowd. So between your game and that game, going to be interesting to see who can come out on top.
Definitely some good games this week.
Yeah. Well, for Eve Hernandez and myself, thanks for joining us here for another WNEP Sports Spotlight. It's always on WNEP Plus, so join us when you can and get out there, make it a great night, have a great weekend. Thanks, everyone.